Before I tell you what happened, understand this. My own mother stood in our driveway, watched 847 strangers laugh at my humiliation, and she smiled. Not a sad smile. Not a conflicted one. A satisfied smile. Now let me tell you how I made her regret it. I came home to find my entire life in the garbage. Not hidden away. Not packed in boxes. In actual trash bags lined up on the curb like refuse, while my mother and 2 siblings stood in the driveway filming themselves on someone's phone, laughing for the camera. And that's what happens when you're selfish. My younger sister Emma shouted into the lens, doing a little spin. Sometimes you have to take out the trash, right, Mom? My mother, Diane, smiled that thin, practiced smile she uses when she wants to look like the victim. We gave her so many chances, she said softly, shaking her head. But family has to come first. And if you won't respect this family, well. She gestured to the bags like she was presenting evidence at trial. My brother Jake was behind them, holding up one of my framed photos, the one of me at college graduation, and pretending to cry dramatically. "Oh no, we're so sad," he mocked, then tossed it into the nearest bag. The glass shattered. The sound echoed in my chest. I stood there, frozen at the edge of the driveway, keys still in my hand. I'd been gone for 3 days. A work trip. I'd texted them I'd be back Sunday evening. And now it was Sunday evening, and everything I owned was in the trash. But I didn't know yet that they were streaming it. Emma noticed me first. Her eyes lit up like she'd just won a prize. "Oh my God, she's here," she squealed, turning the camera toward me. Guys, she actually showed up. Say hi to Vanessa, everyone." That's when I saw it. The phone. The little screen. The scrolling comments. They were live streaming this. My humiliation was content. The phone swung in my direction. I could see myself in the small screen reflection, standing there in my work clothes, stunned, pale, silent. The comment section exploded. I could see it scrolling past in rapid fire. LMAO, she looks shook. What did she do, though? Mama didn't play. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just stood there while strangers watched me fall apart. My mother turned to me, and for just a second, just 1 second, I saw it. The cold satisfaction in her eyes. This wasn't about teaching me a lesson. This was about power. This was a performance, and I was the villain. "Vanessa," she said, voice dripping with false patience. "We tried to reach you. We tried to talk to you. But you clearly don't care about this family anymore." "I was at a conference," I said quietly. My voice sounded small. "Broken. I told you that. You always have an excuse." Jake stepped forward, arms crossed, playing the enforcer. "You're never here. You don't help out. You don't contribute. You just take." "Take what?" I wanted to scream. I paid $800 a month in rent, in a house my mother owned outright. I bought my own groceries. I stayed out of everyone's way. But I didn't say any of that, because the camera was still rolling, and I knew how this worked. Anything I said would be clipped, twisted, turned into a soundbite that made me look worse. So I said nothing, and my silence made me look guilty. "See," Emma said, tilting the phone back to herself. She doesn't even defend herself because she knows we're right. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here with us during this hard family moment. Don't forget to follow us for more real-life drama. She winked at the camera. An actual wink. Like this was a prank. Like I wasn't standing 10 feet away trying not to cry. I looked at the trash bags again. My clothes. My books. My laptop case. The stuffed rabbit I'd had since I was 7, the one my dad gave me before he left. All of it, on the curb in the trash for content. Only later would I find out how many people were watching. But in that moment, all I knew was that my family had turned my life into a spectacle. And I had 2 choices, break down or walk away. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask my mother how she could do this to her own daughter. But instead, I did something I'd never done before. I smiled. Not a big smile. Just a small, calm one. "Okay," I said. That was it. Just okay. And I walked past them, picked up 2 of the bags, and started loading them into my car. They didn't expect that. They wanted a meltdown. They wanted me to beg, cry, yell, something they could clip and upload with a caption like, "Entitled daughter loses it." But I didn't give them that. I made 3 trips. I didn't say a word. I didn't look at the camera. I didn't engage. Emma kept narrating, her voice getting more uncertain. She's seriously just taking it. Like no apology, no nothing. This is wild. My mother's face tightened. She wasn't getting the reaction she wanted, and I could tell it bothered her. When I grabbed the last bag, she stepped in front of me. "Vanessa," she said quietly, angling herself so the phone wouldn't pick it up. "You're making a mistake. You walk away now, you don't come back." I looked at her for a long moment. At the woman who raised me, who I'd tried so hard to please, who had just humiliated me in front of hundreds of strangers for likes and follows. "No," I said. "I don't think I am." And I left. I drove to a motel 6 miles away. The kind with peeling paint and a flickering neon sign that just says vacancy. I checked in, hauled everything into the room, locked the door, and sat down on the edge of the bed. Then I opened my phone. The live stream had ended, but Emma had already posted clips everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. My face was everywhere. The comments were brutal. She deadass just stood there. "This family is messy. I need context though, what did she do? Mom of the year LOL. I scrolled through it all, numb. And then I saw the follow-up post. It was my mother, sitting in the living room. My living room, the house I'd been paying rent for, with Emma and Jake on either side of her. She looked tired, sad, like she'd been crying. The caption read, "Sometimes love means tough choices. Pray for our family." The comments were full of support. "You did the right thing, Mama. Toxic people have to go, even if they're blood. Stay strong." They believed her. All of them. I closed the app. And I sat there in that ugly motel room, surrounded by trash bags full of my life, and I realized something. I'd spent 28 years trying to be good enough for them, and it was never going to matter. So I stopped trying to be good, and I started trying to be smart. Let me take you back. Because this didn't start with a live stream. It started the day I realized I was never going to be enough. I was 11. It was my birthday. My mother had promised me a party. Nothing big, just cake and a few friends from school. The morning of my birthday, Emma, who was 7, threw a tantrum because she wanted to go to the zoo. My mother looked at me and said, "Vanessa, you understand, right? She's little. We can do your party next weekend." We never did. Instead, we went to the zoo. Emma got a stuffed giraffe from the gift shop. I got a pat on the head and a "we'll celebrate later, sweetie." That's when I learned the rule. Emma and Jake's needs came first. Always. And I told myself it was okay. I told myself I was the oldest, the responsible one. I told myself that wanting attention was selfish. I spent the next 17 years believing that. My name is Vanessa Cole, and for 28 years, I have been the backup character in my own family's story. Emma is 24 now. She's beautiful, bubbly, effortlessly charming. The kind of person who walks into a room and everyone just likes her. She dropped out of college after 1 semester to find herself, which apparently meant posting lifestyle content online and living rent-free at home. Jake is 26. He's good-looking, quick with a joke, and has never held a job for more than 6 months. He's been working on his startup for 3 years. As far as I can tell, the startup is a group chat and a logo he paid someone on Fiverr to make. And then there's me. I'm the oldest. I got good grades. I went to a state school on a partial scholarship and worked 2 jobs to cover the rest because my mother said she couldn't afford to help. Meanwhile, she paid for Emma's semester at a private liberal arts college, the one Emma quit after 4 months. I graduated with a degree in finance. I got a corporate job. I moved out. And then 2 years ago my mother called me. "We need you," she said. "The house is too big without you. And you can save money for a down payment." I should have said no. But I wanted to believe she missed me. I wanted to believe she actually needed me. So I moved back. I paid $800 a month in rent. Emma and Jake paid nothing. I bought my own food. They ate whatever they wanted from the shared fridge, including my groceries. I did my own laundry, kept my room clean, stayed out of the way. Jake left dishes in the sink for days. Emma took hour-long showers and never cleaned the bathroom. When I brought it up, my mother said, "Vanessa, don't be petty. They're going through a lot right now." They were always going through a lot. Jake's startup was always about to take off. Emma's influencer career was always almost there. And I was always supposed to understand. It started small, the financial abuse. Emma needed $200 for a ring light. "I'll pay you back, I swear." She never did. Jake needed $500 for a business investment. It disappeared. My mother needed help with the mortgage 1 month. Just this once. Then it happened again. And again. Over 2 years, I gave them nearly $18,000. I kept track. In a spreadsheet. Because I'm that person. And every time I hesitated, every time I asked when I'd be paid back, my mother looked at me like I'd slapped her. "I can't believe you'd make this about money," she'd say. "After everything I've done for you." What had she done for me? She paid for Emma's trip to Coachella. Twice. She bought Jake a new gaming PC when his broke. It didn't break. He just wanted an upgrade. She bought them both new iPhones when theirs were too slow. When I asked if I could borrow the car for a work event, she said it wasn't available. An hour later, Jake took it to meet friends. There was one dinner I'll never forget. I'd just gotten a promotion at work. A big one. Senior analyst. A $15,000 raise. I was excited. I actually thought they'd be proud. I told them over dinner. My mother smiled that thin smile and said, "That's nice, honey." Then she turned to Emma. "Tell Vanessa about your brand deal." Emma lit up. "Oh my God, yeah. So this skincare company wants to send me free products, and if I post about them, I might get paid." My mother beamed. "Might get paid? Emma, that's incredible." Jake laughed. "Vanessa's over here with her boring corporate job, and Emma's basically famous." I stared at my plate. No one asked about my promotion again. And that's when I realized, it didn't matter what I achieved. I would never be the golden child. I would always be the reliable one. The boring one. The one who didn't need attention. Then 3 months ago, everything shifted. My grandmother, my dad's mom, passed away. I hadn't been close to her. She lived in Oregon, 4 states away. But she was kind to me in a quiet way. She remembered my birthday. She sent cards. She asked about my job. At the funeral, my mother cried louder than anyone. She gave a speech about how much she loved Mom Cole. How she'd been like a second mother to her, how devastated she was. I thought it was grief. I didn't realize it was a performance. 2 weeks after the funeral, my mother sat us all down in the living room. She had that serious look. The one she uses when she wants us to know she's being the responsible adult. "I need to talk to you about Grandma's estate," she said. I waited. "She didn't leave much," my mother continued. "But there was a small life insurance policy. And she wanted it to be split between the 3 of you." I felt a flicker of something. Surprise, maybe. Gratitude. Grandma had thought of us. "But," my mother said slowly, "given everything that's been going on, I think it's best if the money goes toward helping Emma and Jake get on their feet. Vanessa, you have a job. You're stable. They need it more." The room went quiet. "What?" I said. "It's only fair," she said like it was obvious. "You're doing fine. They're still figuring things out." Jake nodded along, righteous. Emma looked uncomfortable, but didn't say anything. "How much are we talking about?" I asked. My mother's face hardened. "That's not the point. The point is family. And right now they need support." I wanted to argue. I wanted to ask why my stability meant I deserved less. I wanted to scream that I'd been supporting them for years, and no one had ever thought I needed help. But I didn't. I just said, "Okay." And my mother smiled. Like I'd passed a test. That was the beginning of the end. After that, the dynamic shifted. It was like my mother had decided I was the problem. The one who didn't need love, didn't need attention, didn't need anything. Emma started making little comments. "Must be nice to have a real job," she'd say, rolling her eyes. "Some of us are building something meaningful." Jake started treating me like I was the live-in maid. "Vanessa, can you pick up groceries? Vanessa, I need a ride. Vanessa, can you be quiet? We're filming." And my mother? She just stopped seeing me. I'd come home from work, and she wouldn't ask how my day was. I'd cook dinner, and she'd eat it without acknowledging I made it. I'd try to join a conversation, and she'd talk over me like I wasn't there. I was a ghost in my own home. And then came the live stream. I still don't know what I did to deserve it. Maybe I didn't do anything. Maybe that was the point. Maybe I was just a convenient villain for their little online narrative. The ungrateful daughter. The selfish sister. The one who didn't support the family. It didn't matter that none of it was true. It made good content. And content was all that mattered. But here's what they didn't know. I wasn't broken. I was angry. And anger, it turns out, is incredibly clarifying. I spent 2 weeks in that motel. I went to work. I came back. I ate microwaved meals and scrolled through footage of my own humiliation, watching strangers debate whether I deserved it. Most of them thought I did. I didn't call my mother. I didn't text Emma or Jake. I blocked their numbers after the 17th missed call and muted all their social media, so I wouldn't be tempted to check. I told myself I was moving on. But at night, alone in that room with the flickering bathroom light and the smell of old carpet, I couldn't stop thinking about what my mother had said. The inheritance was small. It's being split between Emma and Jake. You don't need it. Something about it felt wrong. Not just unfair. Wrong. My grandmother had always been kind to me. Quiet but kind. She sent me cards on my birthday with $20 bills inside, even after I graduated college. She asked about my job in a way that felt genuine, not performative. Would she really have left me nothing? So I started digging. I called the funeral home first. I asked if they had any information about my grandmother's estate, or who was handling it. The woman on the phone hesitated. We typically don't give out that information, but let me see what I can do. She put me on hold for 3 minutes. When she came back, she sounded apologetic. The estate is being handled by Broderick and Hale. They're a law firm in Portland. I can give you their number if you'd like. I wrote it down with shaking hands. Thank you, I said. Of course, honey. I'm sorry for your loss. I hung up, and I sat there for a long time, staring at the number. Part of me didn't want to call. Part of me thought maybe my mother was telling the truth. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe this was just me looking for a reason to be angry. But the other part of me, the part that had been humiliated, discarded, and filmed for content, said, call them. So I did. The receptionist answered on the second ring. Broderick and Hale, how can I help you? Hi, I said, trying to sound casual. My name is Vanessa Cole. My grandmother, Margaret Cole, passed away recently, and I was told her estate was being handled by your firm. I just wanted to confirm some details. One moment, please. She put me on hold. My heart was pounding. I didn't even know what I was hoping to hear. When she came back, she sounded confused. I'm sorry, Ms. Cole, but I'm not seeing your name listed as a beneficiary in Mrs. Cole's will. Are you sure you're supposed to be included? My stomach dropped. So my mother had been telling the truth. I wasn't in the will. Oh, I said quietly. I must have misunderstood. Sorry to bother you. Wait, she said quickly. Let me transfer you to Mr. Broderick. He's the attorney handling the estate. Maybe he can clarify. No, that's okay. It'll just take a moment. The hold music clicked back on. I almost hung up. But I didn't. Daniel Broderick had the kind of voice that made you feel like everything was under control. Calm, precise, authoritative. Ms. Cole, he said. I've pulled up your grandmother's file. Look, I'm sorry, I said quickly. I think there was a misunderstanding. My mother told me the inheritance was going to my siblings, and I just wanted to confirm. You are mentioned in the will, he said. I stopped talking. What? You're mentioned, he repeated. In fact, Ms. Cole, you're listed as the primary beneficiary. The room tilted. I'm sorry, what? Your grandmother left specific instructions, he continued, his tone matter of fact. The life insurance policy, the savings account, and a small property in Bend, Oregon, all of it was left to you. I couldn't breathe. But my mother said. Your mother was named as the executor, Mr. Broderick said. But the terms of the will are very clear. The estate is to be transferred to you in full once it's settled. How much? I whispered. He paused. The total value of the estate, including the property, life insurance, and liquid assets, is approximately $340,000. The phone almost slipped out of my hand. $340,000. And my mother had told me it was nothing. Mr. Broderick, I said, my voice shaking now. Has she done anything with the estate yet? She filed the initial paperwork, he said slowly. But there have been some irregularities. What kind of irregularities? She requested an early dispersal of funds, claiming financial hardship, but we haven't approved it yet. Some of her documentation raised red flags. Like what? I can't go into specifics without your consent to discuss the case further. But let's just say executors have a fiduciary duty. If we suspect mismanagement or fraud, we're obligated to investigate. I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. Not sadness. Not shock. Clarity. Can I get a copy of the will? I asked. Absolutely, he said. I'll email it to you today. And Ms. Cole? Yes. If you have any concerns about how the estate is being handled, I'd encourage you to reach out. You have rights here. Thank you, I said. I hung up, and I sat there in that motel room, staring at the wall, feeling the pieces click into place. My mother hadn't just lied to me. She'd tried to steal from me. The email arrived 3 hours later. I opened it on my laptop, hands trembling. The PDF loaded slowly. Pages and pages of legal language, signatures, notarizations. And then I found it. Page 4. In my grandmother's careful, slanted handwriting. To my granddaughter, Vanessa Marie Cole, I leave the entirety of my estate. She has always been kind, hardworking, and true. I trust she will use it wisely. Not Emma. Not Jake. Me. I read it 3 times. Then I read the next section. The part where my mother was named executor, responsible for distributing the assets according to the will's terms. She wasn't supposed to keep it. She wasn't supposed to give it to Emma and Jake. She was supposed to give it to me. And she lied. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there staring at the screen, feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Power. This wasn't about the live stream anymore. This wasn't about trash bags or humiliation or comments from strangers. This was about a mother who had spent years making me feel worthless, and who had finally made a mistake. A legal one. For a moment, just one moment, I hesitated. What if I was wrong? What if there was an explanation? What if confronting her would just make things worse? What if I was being selfish? That voice in my head, the one that had kept me quiet for 28 years, whispered, maybe you should just let it go. But then I thought about the live stream. I thought about my mother's smile. I thought about 847 people laughing at me. And I made a decision. I called Mr. Broderick back the next morning. I want to file a formal complaint, I said. Against my mother. As executor. On what grounds? Fraud. Misrepresentation. Breach of fiduciary duty. Theft. Whatever applies. She lied to me about the will. She tried to steal my inheritance. And I want it stopped. There was a pause. Ms. Cole, he said carefully, if you're serious about this, you need to understand, it's going to get ugly. Family lawsuits always do. I know. Your mother will have to be deposed. Financial records will be subpoenaed. This will become public record. Good. And you're sure you want to proceed? I thought about my life in trash bags. I thought about my mother's thin smile. I thought about the years I spent trying to earn love that was never going to come. Yes, I said. I'm sure. All right, he said. Let's do this properly. I didn't tell them I was coming. I didn't announce my lawsuit. I didn't post about it online. I didn't send a dramatic text. I just let the lawyers handle it. And for 3 weeks I heard nothing. I went to work. I stayed in the motel. I waited. It was the hardest 3 weeks of my life, not because I doubted myself, but because I didn't know if it would work. What if the lawyers found a loophole? What if my mother convinced them I was lying? What if the system protected her the way it always had? What if I'd made everything worse for nothing? Then on a Tuesday afternoon my phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from Emma. I stared at the screen. Something had happened. I didn't call back. I just waited. 5 minutes later Jake texted. What the hell did you do? I didn't respond. Then my mother left a voicemail. Her voice was shaking, whether from anger or fear I couldn't tell. Vanessa, I don't know what you think you're doing, but this is family. You don't bring lawyers into family business. You don't. Her voice cracked. Call me back. Now. I deleted it. Then I called Mr. Broderick. What happened? I asked. Your mother received the letter this morning, he said. She's been informed that her role as executor is being formally challenged, that an investigation into potential estate fraud is underway, and that she's required to appear for a deposition in 2 weeks. And the estate has been frozen. She can't access any of the funds until this is resolved. I felt something loosen in my chest. Thank you, I said quietly. We're just getting started, he said. The first domino fell quietly. My mother couldn't touch the money. Not the life insurance. Not the savings. Nothing. But the second domino? That one was loud. Someone, I still don't know who, leaked the story to a local Facebook drama group. Not all the details. Just enough. Remember that family that threw the daughter's stuff away on Livestream? Turns out the mom was trying to steal her inheritance. It spread. Within 48 hours, people started connecting the dots. They went back to the original Livestream clips. They watched them with new context. And suddenly the narrative shifted. My mother wasn't the brave parent making a tough choice. She was the villain, the thief, the manipulator. The comments turned fast. Wait, so she kicked her out and tried to steal from her? This is actually sick. The daughter didn't even fight back, she just left. BC she knew. I feel so bad for judging her, OMG. Emma tried to do damage control. She posted a tearful video, sitting in her room, no makeup, looking exhausted. Hey guys, she said, voice shaking. I know there's a lot of stuff going around right now, and I just want to say, it's complicated. You don't know the full story. Family stuff is messy, and sometimes things look different from the outside. The comments weren't kind. Girl, just admit you were wrong. It's complicated is not an explanation. You literally filmed her humiliation. Her follower count started dropping. Slowly at first. Then faster. Brand deals dried up. Sponsorships disappeared. Turns out, companies don't want to work with someone whose name is attached to elder fraud and public humiliation. Jake tried a different approach. He posted a long, defensive thread on Twitter. Everyone wants to act like they know what happened, but you don't. Vanessa was never there for this family. She was cold, distant, and selfish. We tried for years to include her, and she acted like she was too good for us. So yeah, we were hurt. And yeah, maybe we handled it badly. But don't act like she's innocent. It backfired. Maybe we handled it badly is doing a lot of work here. So you admit you humiliated her for content? Just take the L, bro. He deleted the thread 6 hours later. But the screenshots lived forever. The third domino was the most satisfying. 2 weeks after the lawsuit was filed, Mr. Broderick called me. Ms. Cole, I wanted to give you an update. We subpoenaed your mother's financial records as part of the investigation. And she's been using your grandmother's credit cards. Extensively. My blood went cold. What do you mean? After your grandmother passed, your mother gained access to her accounts as executor. Over the past 3 months, she's charged over $22,000 to those accounts. I felt sick. For what? Flights to Miami. A hotel in Cabo. Designer handbags. High-end electronics. She tried to classify them as estate management expenses. That's insane. We agree, he said. We've documented everything. She bought a $3,200 Gucci bag 2 days after your grandmother's funeral. That's not estate management. That's theft. What happens now? She'll have to pay it all back. With interest. And if she can't? He paused. Let's just say it's not going to look good in front of a judge. I didn't have to do anything after that. The system took over. My mother was removed as executor. A neutral third party was appointed to manage the estate. The court ordered a full audit of every transaction she'd made. And 3 weeks later, the inheritance was released. $340,000. Minus the legal fees, minus the money my mother had stolen, it came to $316,000. I stared at the number in my bank account for a long time. It didn't feel real. But the money wasn't the victory. The victory was watching everything crumble. Emma's influencer career stalled. Her engagement dropped to almost nothing. She couldn't get sponsorships because no brand wanted to touch her. She had to get a job. A real one. At a coffee shop. Jake's startup, his imaginary 3-year-long startup, fell apart. Turns out, the one investor he'd managed to interest pulled out when they Googled his name and found the lawsuit. He moved back in with my mom. At 26. With no job and no prospects. And my mother? She had to sell the house. Not because I forced her to. Because she couldn't afford it anymore. She'd been living beyond her means for years, funding Emma and Jake's lifestyles with credit cards, loans, and eventually my grandmother's stolen money. She'd assumed the inheritance would cover it. But there was no inheritance for her. Not anymore. The house sold in 6 weeks. She moved into a 2-bedroom apartment across town. Emma and Jake went with her. All 3 of them, crammed into a place smaller than my old bedroom. 3 months after the lawsuit was finalized, I got a text from an unknown number. Vanessa. Please. I'm sorry. Can we talk? I stared at it. It was my mother's number. She'd gotten a new one after I blocked her. I could picture her, sitting in that cramped apartment, realizing she'd lost. Part of me wanted to respond. Part of me wanted to ask her why. Part of me still wanted her to be my mom. But I didn't. I just blocked the number. And I moved on. Winning didn't feel the way I thought it would. I had the money. I had the truth on my side. I had proof, legal documented proof, that I wasn't the villain they'd painted me as. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. I moved out of the motel and into a small 1-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. Clean. Quiet. Mine. I bought real furniture. Not expensive, but new. I hung up pictures. I made it a home. But at night, lying in my new bed in my new apartment, I couldn't stop replaying it all. Not just the live stream. Not just the lies. All of it. The years of being invisible. The years of convincing myself it was normal. The years of thinking if I just try harder, they'll love me the way they love them. I'd won the legal battle. But I'd lost my family. And even though I knew they didn't deserve my grief, it still hurt. I started therapy. A good therapist. One who specialized in family trauma. Her name was Dr. Patel, and she didn't sugarcoat things. You're grieving, she told me in our 3rd session. And that's okay. You're not grieving the family you had. You're grieving the family you thought you'd have one day. I cried for the first time since the live stream. Not because I missed them, but because I finally admitted to myself that I'd been holding on to hope. Hope that one day they'd see me, that one day I'd be enough, that one day it would be my turn to be loved without conditions. And that day was never going to come. They can't give you what they don't have, Dr. Patel said gently. And that's not your fault. It was never your fault. Those words broke something open in me. For 28 years, I'd believed I was the problem. Too quiet. Too boring. Too practical. Not enough. But the problem was never me. The problem was them. 6 weeks after the lawsuit settled, Emma showed up at my apartment. I didn't know she had my address. I assumed my mother had given it to her, back when they still thought I might forgive them. I heard the knock and checked the peephole. There she was, no ring light, no makeup, no performance. Just Emma, looking small and tired and 24 in a way she'd never looked before. I almost didn't open the door. But curiosity got the better of me. "I'm not here to ask for anything," she said the second I opened the door. Her hands were shaking. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't move from the doorway. I didn't invite her in. "I'm sorry," she said again, voice cracking. "I didn't think about what we were doing. I didn't think about how it would feel for you. I got caught up in the attention, in the likes, in making Mom happy, and I didn't think." "You didn't think," I repeated flatly. "I know that's not good enough," she said quickly. "I know it's not an excuse. But it's the truth. And I know you probably hate me, and I don't blame you. But I just wanted you to know that I am sorry. Even if you never forgive me." I looked at her for a long moment. At my little sister. The golden child. The one who always got what she wanted without trying. She looked different now. Smaller somehow. Less sure of herself. "You threw my things in the trash," I said quietly. "You filmed it. You laughed. You told 847 people that I deserved it." "I know," she whispered. "And when I left, you didn't stop them. You didn't defend me. You didn't even wonder if maybe, just maybe, we were wrong." "I know. And now you're here because everything fell apart for you. Your followers are gone. Your reputation is ruined. Mom lost the house. And suddenly you're sorry." Her eyes filled with tears. "It's not just because of that." "Yes, it is," I said. "Not cruelly. Just truthfully. If I hadn't fought back, if I'd just disappeared quietly like you all expected, you wouldn't be here. You'd still be making content. You'd still be telling people I was the villain. You're only sorry because you lost." She stared at the ground. "Maybe that's true," she said softly. "Maybe I am only here because I lost everything. But that doesn't mean I'm not sorry. And it doesn't mean I don't regret it." I wanted to believe her. Part of me did. But I also knew that sorry didn't undo what happened. Sorry didn't erase the live stream. Sorry didn't give me back my dignity. Sorry didn't heal the years of being invisible. "Thank you for saying that," I said finally. "But I don't think I can forgive you. Not right now. Maybe not ever." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "I understand. I hope you figure things out, Emma. I really do. But I can't be part of your life anymore." "Okay," she whispered. And I closed the door. Jake never apologized. He sent exactly one text, a month after the settlement. "Hope you're happy. You destroyed this family." I stared at it for a few seconds, then deleted it without responding. Some people don't want accountability. They just want someone to blame. And I wasn't going to be that person anymore. My mother tried one last time. Not with a phone call. Not with a text. With a letter. It arrived on a Tuesday, handwritten on cream-colored stationery. 4 pages front and back. I almost threw it away without reading it. But something made me open it. The letter was strange. It wasn't an apology exactly. It was more of an explanation, a justification really. She talked about how hard it had been after my father left. How she'd struggled to raise 3 kids alone. How she'd always felt like she was failing. "Emma and Jake needed more attention because they were sensitive," she wrote. "You were always so capable. So strong. So independent. You didn't need me the way they did." She said she was proud of me. That she always had been. That she just didn't know how to show it. "I know I made mistakes," she wrote. "I know I hurt you. But I did the best I could with what I had. And I need you to understand that everything I did, even the things that hurt you, I did because I thought it was right. I thought I was protecting them. I thought you'd be fine because you're always fine. And then at the end, I know I failed you. I know you're angry. And maybe you have a right to be. But I'm still your mother. And I love you. Even if I didn't show it the way I should have. I hope one day you can forgive me. I hope one day we can be a family again. Love, Mom." I read the letter 3 times. And each time I felt less. Not anger. Not sadness. Just distance. Because here's what my mother still didn't understand. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the house. It wasn't even about the live stream. It was about 28 years of being told through actions, through silence, through neglect, that I didn't matter. And an apology that still made excuses wasn't an apology at all. She was sorry she got caught. She was sorry she lost. She was sorry things didn't work out the way she planned. But she wasn't sorry for what she did to me. She still thought she was right. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, and placed it in a drawer. Not because I wanted to keep it, but because I wanted to remember. I wanted to remember that when people show you who they are, you should believe them. I wanted to remember that love without respect isn't love. It's control. I wanted to remember that I didn't owe anyone forgiveness just because they decided they were ready for it. And I wanted to remember that walking away wasn't cruel. It was survival. It's been a year now. A full year since the live stream. Since the trash bags. Since the lawsuit. I still live in the same apartment. I still work the same job, though I got another promotion 3 months ago. Senior financial analyst. Corner office. A team of my own. But everything feels different now. Not perfect. Not healed. Just different. I found a routine. I wake up early. I make coffee. Good coffee, the kind I buy from a local roaster. I sit by the window and watch the city wake up. I go to therapy every other week. Dr. Patel and I talk about boundaries, about self-worth, about unlearning the belief that love has to be earned. Some days are harder than others. Some days I still catch myself wondering if I was too harsh. If I should have given them another chance. If I'm being selfish for choosing myself. But then I remember the live stream. I remember my mother's smile. I remember 28 years of being invisible. And I know I made the right choice. I made new friends. Real ones. There's Sarah, a co-worker who invited me to trivia night and didn't take no for an answer. She's loud and funny and loyal in a way that feels safe. There's Marcus, my neighbor, who knocked on my door one night because he'd accidentally locked himself out. We ended up talking for 2 hours, and now we have coffee every Sunday. There's a whole book club I joined. 8 people who meet monthly to discuss novels and drink wine and talk about life. They don't know about the live stream. They don't know about the lawsuit. They just know me as Vanessa, the woman who brings good snacks and always has thoughtful things to say about the books. And that's enough. I started painting again. I'd loved it in high school, watercolors mostly. Landscapes and abstract shapes and anything that felt like color and light. But somewhere along the way, I'd convinced myself it was frivolous. A waste of time. Something I didn't have space for when I needed to be useful. So I stopped. But a few months ago, I walked past an art supply store and saw a set of paints in the window. And something in me whispered, buy them. So I did. Now I paint on weekends. Nothing fancy. Nothing I'd ever show anyone. Just me, in my living room, making something that exists purely because I wanted it to exist. It feels like breathing. I traveled too. Not far. Not extravagant trips. But I drove to the coast one weekend and stayed in a tiny bed and breakfast. I watched the ocean for hours and felt small in a way that was comforting instead of painful. I visited the property in Oregon, the one my grandmother left me. It's a small cabin on 2 acres of land, surrounded by pine trees and silence. It needs work. The roof leaks. The porch sags. But it's mine. I spent a weekend there just sitting on the porch drinking tea, listening to the wind. And I cried. Not because I was sad, but because my grandmother had seen me. She'd known I'd need a place that was mine. A place no one could take from me. And she'd given me that. I still think about them sometimes. My mother. Emma. Jake. I wonder if they're okay. If they learned anything. If they ever really understood what they did. But I don't wonder enough to reach out. Because I've realized something important. You don't owe your family forgiveness. You don't owe them a relationship just because you share blood. You don't owe them access to your life just because they demand it. You get to decide who stays. And who goes. And I decided they had to go. There's a quote I read somewhere. I can't remember who said it, but it goes something like this. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. And I think that's where I am now. I don't hate them. I don't wish them harm. I just don't think about them much anymore. And that feels like freedom. Last month, I did something I never thought I'd do. I threw a birthday party. For myself. Nothing big. Just Sarah, Marcus, and a few people from book club. We ordered pizza, played board games, and stayed up too late laughing about nothing. At one point, Sarah raised her glass and said, "To Vanessa, who deserves every good thing." And everyone cheered. And for the first time in my life, I believed it. I deserved good things. Not because I'd earned them. Not because I'd been useful or quiet or accommodating. But because I was a person. And people deserve to be loved. I won't lie and say everything is perfect now. I still have bad days. Days where I feel lonely. Days where I miss the idea of having a family, even if the reality was painful. Days where I wonder if I'll ever fully heal from this. But I'm learning that healing isn't a destination. It's a process. And I'm in it. One afternoon, I was walking through a bookstore when I saw it. A journal. Small, leather-bound with blank pages. On the cover, in gold lettering, it said, "Write your own story." I bought it. And that night, I sat down and wrote the first entry. Not about them. Not about the past. About me. About the life I was building. The person I was becoming. The future I was choosing. And for the first time in 28 years, I felt like the main character in my own story. Not the backup. Not the villain. The protagonist. So no, I didn't get a tearful reunion. I didn't get an apology that fixed everything. I didn't get a Hollywood ending where everyone hugs and the music swells and everything is okay. But I got something better. I got my life back. I got my dignity back. I got myself back. And honestly, that's more than enough. If you're reading this, if you've been through something similar, if your family has betrayed you, humiliated you, or made you feel like you were the problem, I need you to hear this. You're not crazy. You're not selfish for protecting yourself. You're not wrong for walking away. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. And sometimes the only way to heal is to let them go. It won't be easy. It won't be clean. It won't feel satisfying in the way you think it will. But on the other side of that door, the one you're afraid to walk through, is a life where you get to decide your worth. Where you get to set your boundaries. Where you get to be seen. Not as the villain. Not as the supporting character. Not as the one who's always supposed to understand. But as you. Whole. Valuable. Worthy. And that life. It's worth fighting for. I look at my life now, my quiet apartment, my small circle of real friends, my Sunday morning painting sessions, my corner office, my grandmother's cabin waiting for me in the woods, and I realize something. I don't need them to apologize. I don't need them to understand. I don't need them to see me the way I always wanted them to. Because I see myself now. And that's the only thing that matters. There's one last thing I want to tell you. About a month ago, I was cleaning out my closet, and I found it. The stuffed rabbit my dad gave me when I was 7. The one that had been thrown in the trash during the live stream. I'd grabbed it that night without really looking at it. Shoved it into one of the bags and forgot about it. But there it was. A little worn, a little dirty, but intact. I washed it. Carefully. And I put it on my bookshelf. Not because I'm clinging to the past. But because I survived. I survived the humiliation. The betrayal. The loss. I survived being treated like trash. And I came out the other side as someone stronger, clearer, and more whole than I've ever been. That rabbit is a reminder. You can't destroy someone who refuses to stay broken. So to everyone who watched that live stream and laughed, I hope you learned something. To my mother, who smiled while strangers mocked me, I hope you found whatever it was you were looking for, because it cost you a daughter. To Emma and Jake, who chose content over compassion, I hope one day you understand what you lost. And to anyone out there who's been made to feel small, invisible, or disposable by the people who were supposed to love them, you are not what they said you were. You are not the villain in their story. You are the hero in your own. And your story, it's just beginning. If you've ever been blamed for things you didn't do, if you've ever been made the villain in your own family, if you've ever had to choose between your peace and their approval, then this channel is for you. Because these stories, they're not just about revenge. They're about taking your power back. Hit subscribe if you're ready to hear more stories about boundaries, healing, and what happens when you finally choose yourself. Because you deserve to be the main character. And I'm here to remind you of that.